Hello, this is Pigsy doing another video, and I've done a few actually recently. There's been a few things going on anyway. I had basically I showed before, I made this thing with mushrooms and they were so rubbery, I basically got the food processor out and I blended them up and I made some sort of mushroom soup, and I was adding things in there trying to make it tastier. So I had it in my fridge for a while, and then I yesterday had it when I visited. I went to visit a client of mine, so we had dinner together. And pretty much he has mushy food anyway, so there wasn't a big problem there. So I ate this mixture, and it's probably very fibrous, and so it hasn't really agreed too well with my stomach. You know, it hasn't been really bad or anything. It's just it's basically set me a bit of IBS off. So I've been going to the toilet quite regular, and hasn't been much fun in this traffic. And so yeah, it's basically set the IBS, and I was going to the toilet quite a few different times, and it was irritating. It was so probably you can go up to about 9 times in a night basically. So you get up every few hours going to the toilet. And I had this experience whereby it was like a dark being. I felt this thing. I was laid on the bed and my leg was aching, so I put a pillow underneath it, and so I supported my leg. So I'd done that, and then I had this entity or perception of it. So I was basically sleeping naked. And I felt this feeling like something was kissing me, but lips were completely round my lips. It was mad, and also I could feel like it was basically trying to ride me. It was but it was female, so I could my nether regions I could definitely feel something going on. So both ends there was lots of activity, and it was really weird. So I think it's a succubus, these experiences. So it's the same area of things that having sleep paralysis, and I couldn't move, couldn't do anything. But there was these 2 regions of my body were being stimulated like nuts, and appropriate. And it was, you know, you kind of in 2 minds. You're like, what's going on? And it was, like I say, it wasn't just like feeling on the lips there, it was like round the whole mouth, and I was like, this is odd. And so you don't know, even though it feels, I mean, it's pleasurable, you know, when you start first feeling it, but then you're actually not too sure. It's like you're being raped or something. So so basically I had to pull myself out of this conscious state, and it's really hard. It's like it's almost like you're pushing away from it, and your body is really heavy, and so you feel it's an in-between state when you're trying not to fall asleep, and that's that kind of chemical trying to wake up. You're trying to move the body, and the body is not moving at all, and eventually you're able to open your eyes and move, and then you check down. So I had this feeling, it was just really hard pulling away. Then that quickly, as soon as I started pulling away, the sensations went, and then I just wanted to wake up. But I was using my eye. The eye I was seeing was like my third eye. So whether there was something there, something I've created, or simply I was just vulnerable and some entities come in. I mean, I might have been thinking about a woman or something like that. But that wasn't what was going on at all. You know, maybe an hour ago before I nodded off. That state was really extreme, and I don't know, it's because my stomach was a bit upset, and I've been eating these mushrooms, and they're shiitakes, but they've come over from China, and then there was also the black fungus, which came over from China. It was just that whole experience. And to be honest, the thing could have been like a leech, in that it was it was basically it was basically sucking both ends. But you know, it's kind of like in your head you think it's something else. It's like a Medusa or something. It's tricking you. It's trying to absorb your life force. So in essence, it wants you to feel a particular way so it can feed off you. I mean, the only other thing I did was I was focusing on earlier on in the day. Someone told me a story about basically she'd seen probably a dogman, or yeah, it's going to be like one of these dogmen type werewolves. And she told me she was with her partner in Cornwall, and it was early in the morning, and it was dark, and she saw these pair of red eyes, but they didn't seem to have a body. They were just like red eyes there, 2 pairs of red eyes, and it was following them. But there there's no body to it, and it was the height of a dog, they said at first, and it seems to raise up, I guess, and he just couldn't figure out what it was. And I said there's lots of potential reasons. It could be like it could be like some sort of reflector thing that's put on the side of the road. It could actually be an entity. I mean, red is strange, so you couldn't really confuse it with an animal. Deers might have that. I heard something about the female deers, because their eyes are more sensitive, I think. So, because I mean, normally there's like a greeny kind of glow to eyes, you know, like cat's eyes. But red and green is something between the female and the male deers. They probably can tell each other apart by it. I don't know. It's just so strange. You've got night vision, but you've also got it geared up so you can tell the difference between the sexes. So it's very advanced, really. So I meditated on it, and I could see this dog man, like a giant dog man in the woods. I couldn't really communicate with it. I could literally see from the view of its mouth. It's quite bizarre, looking at its mouth eating. And so I meditated on that, and that was the only thing. And maybe I kind of meditated on that realm, and so I opened myself up to the something. And possibly the reason I keep on waking up might have not just been my stomach. It could be that the entity was there and it was buggering about, and I just couldn't recall it. But that was definitely a very weird experience. Never had that. Never been sexually assaulted by the paranormal, and I mean, it wasn't too bad. It could be a lot worse. I mean, it could be worse if it was like the entity was, you know, say I was laid on my front and it was trying to do something from me behind. It wouldn't be a nice experience. But I think in essence, what the entity was doing was trying to hack into my psyche, and was possibly aware of my sort of sexual orientation. So, you know, possibly if you are sort of homosexual, and or maybe you're both, you might have different types of experiences. I mean, I've heard about women that have had these type of things, that have had an entity on top of them, and they've just given into it. I mean, in that situation, I could have just relaxed, because I mean, it wasn't an uncomfortable feeling, but that sensation of pleasure was waking me up. So it was like, you know, it's like someone massaging me or doing something. It wasn't something I could ignore. You know, it's a bit like if you're itchy, or something's bitten you or something. In the middle of the night, you start waking up. So an unusual experience. Now, on occasions, I do have entities sort of enter into my life, and I'm not too sure what's happening there. I haven't had too many kind of feeling like visitors while I've been there, because sometimes you can look over in the corner of a dark place and you kind of feel there's something not quite right about it. But it hasn't been too much. I don't know what's in agreement with these entities. Like, they're not to interfere. They've got a non-interference policy, or humans need to evolve to a certain point whereby they're allowed to access them or whatever. You know, it's probably in the past we've screwed up so many times. Entities turned up and said, "Oh, I'm from up there," and they said, "Oh, you're a god then?" And I went, "No, I'm just a god. You're just from up there." And so the only way you can explain it is that they're a god, and then they get worshipped. "Oh, you're above me, and I'm not. So I tell you what, we're going to kill some of our kids and give them to you." Or, you know, imagine that. Imagine if reptilians were completely misunderstood. They're vegetarians. They turn up, and people see like crocodiles eating things, and they think, oh well, a crocodile ate a child today. That must be our new crocodile god's way of spirituality, and then we start repeating weird behaviour like that, you know, because he disappear for a while, and they come back to see what the culture's doing, and they're involved in warfare and bloody games. I mean, there's all sorts of possibilities. We seem to sometimes externalise into these ETs like we're not capable of committing horrendous crimes ourselves, which I think we probably are. We don't need much help to become quite dark spiritually. And what becomes of us past that, you know, past the into the afterlife, if we've got sort of quite dark karma about us. You know, there may be people and there live in entities, people that become succubuses, and the other, I think there's a male version of it as well, and it's slightly different. So the people like that who just kind of feed off other people's energy, or they get kicks out of it. Maybe these things develop in the afterlife. A way of surviving is to feed off people's chi through some type of sexual activity, and they looked for different targets. I mean, I did even hear about on TV that someone's chosen to start sleeping with spirits at some sexual level, then have an actual partner, because she seems to feel that's the way to go. I don't have to find out what was on her interview. It's a bit odd though, because you know, it's not like if you haven't got a proper relationship with the entity, then what is going on? And you're potentially being used by that entity, so it's not a mutual relationship. So it could be a djinn or something. And yeah, there was no face, even though I concentrated on it. I just got to really think back what I saw, and so maybe it was a type of reptilian entity. I mean, it liked to take a dominant position on top of me. I mean, I may have been laid on my back, it wasn't like it touched me first, I think it just sort of popped on and went wild. And also, what kind of entity has a mouth that can basically encase your mouth? So it would have to have some type of ability, like a sucker, definitely like a sucker on the face. There definitely is anything I can compare, and then trying to argue it out, so it's not real. I mean, I had a pillow under my leg, had a pillow on my belly. I think that was rubbing against me, and somehow made me think these things were going on. And you know, there wasn't anything on my face like covers across my mouth. I might have had something across my neck like that, trying to keep it a bit warm. Which seems to sound strange, but why don't you just wear some pyjama bottoms and stuff? What I do is just to keep your body fresh, really. I don't want to get any sores or sweat or any yeast problems or bacteria breeding on my skin. And that's really why, because I'm in the care game, I don't want to smell. And I come in contact with a lot of people that are the health's at different levels, maybe their skin's not so great, maybe they need to wash more and all these other things. So I just let my skin breathe, basically, and so that's why I've done that. And so there's nothing I can think of that would trigger me to believe something like that was happening. So it's one of them strange things, I think. You know, if it happens again, I'll be surprised. It does feel like a continuation of having sort of like sleep paralysis. It feels like nightmare, a different type of level of nightmare, basically. So it's difficult to compare. You know, I've had it where I felt like something was in the room keeping me there. But anyway, reptilian would probably quite enjoy that, the fact that I resisted. You know, you wouldn't mind if you had a relationship with something. Like, I'd be interested to find out sort of more the spiritual side between an entity from another dimension. I wouldn't want it to sort of get in there and violate me. Yeah, it just seems a little bit out there, but yeah, definitely these things are not untrue. And then also you can check accounts throughout history of people's beliefs or experience. So it's either something, a predisposition to certain people, people that suffer from certain paralysis. When they get too tired, their body naturally does do things, or it's more creepier than we believe. So anyway, this is Piggy sign off, and I'll speak to you soon.